The Washington Commanders officially tore down their coaching staff and rebuilt it from top to bottom completely, hiring Dan Quinn as the new full-time head coach going forward. However, Quinn had to entirely overhaul his coaching staff, and he did just that, and he did it in a really good way, hiring Kliff Kingsbury, Brian Johnson, and even Whitt Jr. Now in this video, I want to break down to you guys why I believe the Washington Commanders are finally heading in the right direction, and this coaching staff is going to make sure that the trajectory is going up from here. Now before we jump into the video, before we break down and get to know all of these new coaches here in Washington, do me a favor and comment down below the number 1 if you actually do like the new coaching staff. However, if you do not, comment down below the number 2, and also comment down below the person, the coach that you don't like. Do you not like Dan Quinn? Do you not like Kliff Kingsbury, Whitt, whoever it may be? Comment down below. But without any further ado, let's get to know the new look Washington Commanders. Okay, now the first thing we need to talk about here is Dan Quinn. This guy right here is an absolute fixer of NFL and even college defenses. You look back at his time at the University of Florida, in Seattle with the Seahawks, Atlanta Falcons as a head coach, or even the Dallas Cowboys as well. This man has been known to absolutely revitalize defenses and make them one of the best in their league. Now, the one thing I'll say about the Washington Commanders is they were the worst defense in all of football this season, ranking number 32 in points allowed per game. They were giving up 30 points a game, and I guarantee you right now, that will not happen again this season. One more thing that I love about Dan Quinn and what I think he's going to bring to this Commanders team is getting guys to buy into a system. Now, what I mean by that is you can tell these players love him. He is the absolute players coach, the perfect leader. Guys want to run through brick walls for him. You listen to him speak and everyone is just there. They're listening, they're paying attention, and they want to play for Dan Quinn. The same can't be said for other head coaches in the NFL. I think Dan Quinn changes everything for this team and is going to completely rebuild the defense going forward. Now, you already have some solid pieces. I mean, for starters, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, right? Jamin Davis, right? Benjamin St-Juste. I mean, there's guys on this team that I really like, but a lot needs to be fixed. Comment down below real quick as we're talking about the defense. What do you think is the biggest position of need defensively? And where do you think Dan Quinn really needs to hammer this offseason with free agency and the draft? But let's also jump into why the offense is about to be so good under new offensive coordinator Kliff Kingsbury. Okay guys, before we jump into Kliff Kingsbury and what he brings to this Commanders team, which is absolutely insane by the way, do me a big favor and hit that like button. I don't post too many Commanders videos, but I want to start just because this new look coaching staff gives me a lot of hope about where they're going and what direction they're heading. So if you want to see more Commanders videos, do me a favor, hit that like button. If this video gets up to 200 likes, I'll post another video keeping you guys updated with the Washington Commanders offseason, but also subscribe to the channel if you're new. It is free, it doesn't cost anything, and if you guys want to see unlimited Commanders content for the rest of the offseason and next season, join the family. Okay, now let's get into Kliff Kingsbury. This guy is a difference maker in terms of developing an offense in the NFL. Back when he was with Arizona, the man had multiple seasons where he led or he helped lead the offense to top 5 seasons under Kyler Murray and that air raid type of system. But Kliff Kingsbury, the most important thing that we need to know is the fact that he is a genius when it comes to helping quarterbacks develop. And he has a long list of guys that he's been working with that look really, really good, especially when they're being coached by Kliff Kingsbury. He puts them in the right situations. Now, when these players leave him, they don't look as good anymore. But for example, let's talk about some of these quarterbacks. Now, the first quarterback he worked with was Johnny Manziel. And we all know how good Johnny Manziel was back in college. Yeah, led him to, breaking Archie Manning's record for most offensive yards gained in a single game. Yeah, he had more than 550 yards in just one game. Johnny Manziel won the Heisman Trophy, had 93 touchdowns and over 9,900 yards, right? But then he went to Texas Tech as the first-time head coach. You know who he coached there? Patrick Mahomes, who is now one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the NFL right now. And then he was, sent to the was hired to the Arizona Cardinals, where he made Kyler Murray one of the best quarterbacks at the time, right? Made the Pro Bowl, had 26 touchdowns, was a top 2 offense in the NFL. They were really, really good. Kyler Murray was also the Rookie of the Year, right? And then, more recently, this is probably the most important fact. Kliff Kingsbury is coming off a job where he coached Caleb Williams. Now, there's a lot of rumors right now Caleb Williams might go number 1 to the Bears, but he also could go to the Commanders at number 2, or if the Commanders want to trade up, they could do that as well. Now, I think that this is absolutely insane. And right away, you saw Dan Quinn lock in on him. He said, Kliff Kingsbury is the guy I want on my team. He's the guy I want coaching this offense. He knows how to get explosive plays. And to win NFL games, you need to have 2 things: explosive plays and good defense. Guys, Dan Quinn is the defensive guy. Kliff Kingsbury can get you some explosive plays. But the big question that goes along with Kliff Kingsbury is who is going to be the quarterback. Comment down below. Do you think it should be Sam Howell, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Ryan Tannehill, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields? Comment down below who should be the next quarterback for the Washington Commanders. But with that being said, let's jump into the next coach we need to talk about. And lastly, really quickly, go check out BetUS, my favorite sportsbook in the world. They'll match your first deposit up to 125%, and they have a live sportsbook, a live casino, regular casino, horse racing, everything. They have everything, and they just gave away Super Bowl tickets. Just think about what they're going to do next. Go sign up, use my promo code. Now I want to talk about new defensive coordinator, Wit Jr. And this guy right here is going to change everything for the defense of the Washington Commanders. Now, what I want to show you guys right away, or tell you guys right away, is this man, Wit Jr., knows how to run a defense. Not only has he spent a lot of time with Dan Quinn, not only does he know how Dan Quinn wants to run a defense, but he also is such a complementary piece to what Dan Quinn wants to do. Now, listen to this, guys. Listen to this. In the time that Whitt was on the Cowboys staff, their defense forced 93 turnovers. And also led the league in 2021 and 2022 in total turnovers. Much of that has come from interceptions, and his secondaries have been top 10 in each of the last 3 seasons. Now, just take a look at what he's done. 1, Trayvon Diggs. We know how good Trayvon Diggs was. Earned a Pro Bowl, had, led the league in interceptions. 11, tied a franchise record. He was all, first team All-Pro. And then you look at this year, Deron Bland took over a bigger role, starting in 15 of 17 games, 9 interceptions. 5 of those were touchdowns, setting an NFL single-season record. And then you talk about what he did to help Charles Woodson earn Defensive Player of the Year and how good those secondaries were back in Green Bay when he was a cornerbacks coach. Guys, I'm telling you right now, Wit Jr. is going to change everything for this Dallas Cowboys team going forward. He knows how to stop explosive plays. And then offensively, you have a guy who knows how to create offensive plays. You're talking about 2 coaches, an offensive coordinator in Kliff Kingsbury, a defensive coordinator in Joe Whitt, who are going to complement each other so well in practice. Guys, the Commanders are coming, and they're here. This season is going to change everything. The reason that they added these guys to their coaching staff is for what they do best. Joe Whitt is going to change the secondary. Dan Quinn is going to change the defense. Kliff Kingsbury is going to create one of the best offenses in football once they develop a quarterback. Whether it's Justin Fields, Sam Howell, whoever it may be, Caleb Williams, they're going to change the trajectory of this football team. And it starts now. But there is one more guy I want to talk about in Brian Johnson. Now, real quickly, I want to talk about Brian Johnson. This one we're not going to be too in-depth. There's not really too much to say, but what I will say is we saw a lot of good things out of Brian Johnson when he was the quarterback's coach for the Philadelphia Eagles back in 2021, 2022, where he helped Jalen Hurts, become a really, really good quarterback, right? So we saw that happen, and then last season or this season, he was upgraded to a full-time offensive coordinator. The offense did take a couple of steps back, but the overall quarterback development that he showed, with the guy like Jalen Hurts was really, really good, right? So you pair him up with Kliff Kingsbury. I think these two guys can really play a big role on developing a quarterback like a Justin Fields or a Caleb Williams or a Jaden Daniels, even a Sam Howell, right? So I think the quarterback development is something they're really trying to focus on with these new coaches. But I will say, Johnson, I don't think he's ready to be a full-time OC, which is why he was fired from the Eagles job. However, he's not going to be here as the OC. That's Kliff Kingsbury's job. So I think he has more time to develop the quarterbacks, more time to focus in on one thing, but not be too stressed out about running an entire NFL offense, which I think is huge. And I still think Brian Johnson is a very underrated coach in the NFL, and I think the Commanders low-key just stole him.